What's a dirty little secret that you know only because you work in the industry? I'm in insurance. If you call to request an estimate for a claim, they will count it as a $0 claim on your file when they deem the damage not enough to repair. That means when another company pulls your information, it will not only impact your future rates, but might make you ineligible for future policies. Don't ever call insurance for an estimate first. Get a third-party inspector to tell you whether you should file with insurance. Yo, this happened to me. I had a crack in my windshield and called to see if it was covered. They said yeah, but it was $500 for a deductible, so I declined and went to repair it at a local shop. A couple of years later, I was dealing with another insurance about something else, and they said that I had made a claim on a windshield repair a few years ago. Insurance broker here, and great advice. They are sneaky fuckers like that. In Canada, we have collision centers. If you hit someone in a parking lot but can't find the person, you are supposed to jot down their information, plate number, and go to the collision center. The center is required by law to report it to your insurance company and contact the other person. Even if it's just a small scratch on a 2003 Honda Civic and the other person doesn't want to file a claim, and neither do you, costing the company $0, they will use it as an at-fault. I learned this the hard way. I hit someone in a courthouse parking lot which has cameras everywhere. I didn't make a single scratch on their old beater, but I felt like I had to do the right thing. So I went in and followed the instructions from the front desk officer, FML. My insurance company called me a week later and said it was at fault. I said, "Did the third party make a claim?" "No." "Did I make a claim?" "There was no fucking damage at all. I was just doing the right thing." "Well, no, sir, but we need to use it as an at-fault anyway." What? However, we do have minor at-fault collision in Ontario now. Not sure about other provinces. Which means any claim with a payout under $2,000 can be labeled minor and can't affect your rates as much. That helps. Still takes away your one-time accident forgiveness if you have it though. This one is fairly well known, but I'm just confirming its truth as someone that used to work in a factory. The brand you buy doesn't always matter. Sometimes it's all the same stuff that comes out of the same vats, but just labeled differently and sold at different price ranges. I work in a bottling plant. It's an independent Pepsi bottler. We make Aquafina and also our own labeled water. It's 100% the same thing. Same bottle, same water, same standards, same caps. Only difference is the label. We don't even stop running when we switch from Aquafina to our water. They just stop the labeler, change the label, and keep going. Never buy name brand water. This is also true for like 80% of the world's sunglasses. The 9 Bombs 99 rack at the grocery store and the $599.99 luxury brands were made by Luxottica. So your Foster Grants, your Ray-Bans, and your Pradas were made right next to each other. As a cybersecurity consultant, I can tell you many companies I have worked with are a when they are hacked, not a if they are hacked. Some orgs have people in charge of cybersecurity that barely know how basic protocols and technologies work. Also, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked to provide analysis. And after I present my findings, half of my recommendations are met with, "Yeah, our end users might complain. We're not gonna do that. Eat it." This part is in bold now because I'm getting a lot of replies about me being in IT. I am not. There is nothing wrong with being in IT, of course, but I am, in fact, just some random engineer. LO. I'm friends with the IT people at work. I'm just some random engineer who's spent less of my career here than any other senior engineer in our department. This means I see the ways this agency is putting us all in precarious positions from a network or data security standpoint. When I've raised these issues to my directors, they've sort of giggled and been like, "Aw, she's paranoid." Not those words, but that energy. Every IT person is like, "You're right. It's not if, but when this ends badly for someone here." We've been saying it for years. Nobody listens. So now me and the IT guys are like the dog in the meme saying, "This is fine," while the room we're in burns. In a lot of cases, the fancier the marketing, the messier the management. At one of my jobs, they were looking for a project management platform to help with project schedules. Upper management wanted to know why turnaround times were slow. I suggested a Basecamp alternative that connected more seamlessly to all of our apps and would set up an on-site server that could be securely managed. We suffered from too many middle managers, and I knew that they were where all of the delays came from. So when I pitched this software, I left out the activity tracker. After the first quarter of use, I printed out the tracker timeline, and it showed big blue bars that were weeks long and represented the middle management review turnaround time. Their answer to this problem wasn't streamlining the review process. Instead, they decided to hire more middle management that ended up making it worse. Their answer to that was moving to Basecamp, which didn't report the same way. Edit. The software I used was Rike. Hey Rike, give me money for spreading the good word. Work in large-scale construction. Large developers effectively borrow on the credit of all of the smaller players who are their subcontractors. You have billion-dollar companies asking smaller companies to pay for them with a promise to pay later. The larger the developer, the slower the process is to get paid. If a project goes bust, it's these small guys that get hit because all of the developers have LLCs that are project-specific. No assets to speak of. I've always said construction is the Wild West where the big companies choke the smaller companies. Either way, when one goes out of business, the same people just start a new company and keep working. When you send your food back to the kitchen, we fix or remake it and make it right, and typically feel bad if it's our mistake. If it's the server's mistake who put it in the ticket, it's okay if she makes up with it with a round of ice waters, sodas, or later on beer. If the customer didn't understand that a BLT had bacon on it, we still fix it, but call you an idiot. Side note, servers talking to the kitchen will blame the customers. They said then knew it had bacon in it. Servers talking to the customers blame the kitchen. Ugh, I told the chef no bacon. I apologize. We don't care. You work for tips. We get paid either way. Here's your BLT. I was scarred as a child seeing movies where PPL spit in the food. I never send food back that's been made incorrectly. I just sit there and eat it. Worked in food service from 1832, and I've never seen nor heard an account of anything that shouldn't be in the food being put there. Worst I've seen was when a chronically rude guest came in 5 mins after close and demanded service. It was a country club, so he was technically a part owner and we weren't allowed to say no. Then sent his perfectly cooked steak back to the kitchen. His second steak was microwaved for a minute or two and then dropped in the fryer. He did say that it was the best steak of his life though. LL, send your food back, the kitchen will fix it. The ice machine definitely has mold in it though, and never trust the cut fruit from servers. 95% of them don't wash that lemon before cutting it and shoving it into your iced tea. You'd be horrified at the amount of bacteria on those kitchen lemons. ETA, I worked at Starbucks from 1822, then 10 years in sit-down restaurants. I can't vouch for fast food. Will Writer in the UK here. If you have $325K in assets or less, and you don't intend to exclude anyone from your will, you need a bog standard will. You don't need a solicitor to write it, and if it costs you more than 150 plus VAT, then it's a ripoff. It takes me about an hour's worth of work to gather information and write that will. I would recommend getting power of attorney though. It's a pain in the ass if you lose capacity without it. IT, staff, even highly paid ones, Google most problems. We are just better at it than you, given we also understand how to apply what we found, but still, it astounds me the lack of awareness of Googling in professional circles. I don't work in IT anymore, but my coworkers, young/old, etc., all will come to me with an issue, e.g., is this piece of equipment the one with a big pulley wheel or a small? And I go to my desk, Google the part number, and look at the picture, walk back to them, sitting at their computer, and say, small. It's like when they show up to work, they lose the ability to critical think. I worked at a Marriott for several years. I learned the following. Bedbugs happen more often than you would think. There's not much we can do about it. A hotel with frequent international travelers is bound to end up with someone who brought something with them in their luggage every now and then, every now and again. I forget which is the proper saying. All we can do is quarantine and clean the room when the problem is discovered. Those sheets are probably not as clean as you think. People in the hallway can hear you having sex in your room. Or you watching porn if you don't wear headphones. Always flip the bolt lock on your door. People make mistakes in booking/blocking rooms. I can't count how many times a room has been double booked, which leads to very awkward, angry interactions. If you had something bad happen to you, or are angry at something you booked not working out, make a bit of a fuss. You can usually get free food/drinks or a free night's stay. Don't be a dick about it. Accidents happen, and it's often not the fault of the person you will be interacting with. But hotels bend over backwards in order to not get a bad review. At the hotel I worked at, every review lower than a 9 or 10 was considered a 0. So, get your money's worth. Lastly, we can smell the smoke/weed coming from your room. We can also smell it when you leave. We might not be able to do anything about it when it happens, but you will absolutely be charged for the 1 tier 2 extra nights that the room is unavailable while we clean the stench out. Please stop smoking in the rooms. You're the only one who can't smell it. Everyone else can. We know you're lying. Stop being childish. I work in the medical field. This isn't really about my field exactly, but an adjacent field, health insurance. There is a guy reviewing our notes looking for reasons to deny a claim. The guy reviewing generally has no clinical knowledge whatsoever, but they are looking for certain key works so they can stamp the denial on the claim. For this reason, I will omit certain things on the clinical notes if it isn't directly applicable to what I am treating, because I know from experience that they will use that word as an indication that the proposed treatment is inappropriate and therefore denied. I learned this the hard way when my daughter was denied allergy testing. Twice. I appealed and won. But seriously, allergy testing? My other daughter was denied a lip/tongue tie surgery, but the doctor himself actually appealed that one for me. Apparently, he's had to do it a lot because insurance companies just think it's only an issue for breastfeeding, and you can just formula feed instead. I own a sign shop, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that almost all businesses fail within the first year. If you think you are going to open a restaurant or a boutique, you are about to lose a bunch of money. Also, no matter what business you want to start, go talk to your local sign guy and ask how many businesses have been in that location and failed. Trust me, we know which locations are cursed. Most residential HVAC contractors have absolutely no idea what they are doing, and oftentimes their recommendations are complete bullshit. I do a lot of residential mechanical design, and on just about every project I'm forced to defend my drawings because the contractor has ideas on how to make it better. Most of the time, they are just trying to make it cheaper. Often they just don't understand how things work. Me. You ignored the drawings and installed an oversized system. Contractor. The way I see it, they got an extra 1/2 ton of cooling for free. Me. Not only is that against code, but that can promote mold growth in the house. Contractor. We'll just agree to disagree. Me. There's no disagreeing with any of that. Contractor. We need a bigger fan. There's not enough airflow. Me. Your own balance report shows there's enough airflow. You just need to properly balance it. Contractor. There's just not enough airflow. Me. So is your balance report wrong? Contractor. Of course not. Me. Then just balance the air. A new fan is a waste of money. Tell you what, you give me your calculations that show we need more air and that your proposed fan will produce that much air and I'll look over them. Contractor. I don't have calculations. I'm not the engineer. Me. Well, I am the engineer, and I'm telling you, a new fan is a waste of money. Fast forward to a new fan being installed, and them finding out it didn't do anything better. People cleaning their underwear in kettles is a huge problem in hotels. We find so many forgotten underpants in the kettles that I can't even assume how many we didn't catch. Don't use them. If you want a nicer room in a hotel, book under Professor Dr. Lash your name. That makes you way more likely to be bumped up. When you're traveling privately, take a card from any hotel testing company with you and give it to the reception when you arrive to enter as the address for your bill. Staff will be extra nice to you. If you want to steal towels from your hotel, don't steal them on the day you're leaving. Just put one in your suitcase day after day and throw the remaining towels on a stack on the floor. Housekeeping will most likely not count them because they don't have the time and put a full amount of new towels in your room. As long as a full set is there when you're leaving, you'll be fine. We keep records about who was nice and who wasn't in our system. If you were nice, you're more likely to be bumped up. I work in shipping, and there are absolutely no issues in the industry at all. I have compiled a list of things that don't happen anywhere. No illegal pollution, no illegal emissions, no corruption, bribery, or the likes from any port or government officials, pilots, agents, or even Suez boatmen. No companies are willing to disregard all the rules regarding health and safety and pollution in the interests of saving money. No racism, bigotry, nepotism, or any form of discrimination. No incompetent pieces of shit with fake certificates of competence and sea service who are willing to do whatever any piece of shit company asks to save money, irrespective of international regs. All in all, it's great that oil and gas majors have abandoned direct management of ships and allow the honest, sincere, and passionate high-quality third-party management companies to do it all at lower costs while maintaining equally high standards. The education system in America is because of contracted employees. I work for an organization called Solient. They own 4 different staffing companies in special education. We place special education teachers, speech pathologists, school psychologists, paraprofessionals, and such. We pay our employees 60% of what we charge the schools. On an hourly basis, it's a bit more than what a government employee could make, and we keep that margin razor thin. Our executives act like we are doing good work, but we are pulling hundreds on millions of dollars out of educators' pockets and out of schools. We pay lobbying firms to keep it this way, as special ed is federally funded. We aren't the only firm that does this, but our org is specifically bad because we have 4 sister companies that work together to drive prices up. Our parent company doesn't care which of our companies makes the money, so we constantly bid up work against our own. Most radiation's far less dangerous than movies and TVs have led you to believe. In fact, your natural diet probably includes radioactive foods. I used to be in the insurance industry. Their target for you to have a life insurance policy is about 10 years. After that, they passive-aggressively try to get you to allow you to forget to pay it anymore, and it lapses. By then, they've made enough to cover the initial commission paid out, plus a good amount extra. And if the policy lapsed before you died, then they have to pay out nothing. Stagehand here. Most famous musicians are total douchebags back off stage. I've worked with a few good apples, and they're the ones that have been touring for decades usually. I absolutely loved working with Dave Grohl/Foo Fighters. Took everyone out for drinks and food after every show. Treated everyone with respect. Helped a lot with stagehand work. Got to talk with him about life and laugh for a good while. Best person band by far I ever worked with. He always left early though, after putting down a tab at the restaurant, because he wanted to spend time with his kids over FaceTime before they went to sleep. Great guy. Drugs don't turn into poison the second they expire. Most medications are going to be effective for years after they expire. Manufacturers put expiry dates on their stuff to cover their assets. They have to guarantee 95% effectiveness until that date. As long as it isn't an antiviral or antibiotic, you can probably use it for years after it expires with no issues. We've stopped teaching effective reading foundations in elementary school, and the next generation of workers is going to be functionally illiterate. We are moving towards a post-literacy society because teachers don't want to risk the ire of admin or parents by teaching to standards and holding kids accountable. Similarly, we don't require kids to memorize basic foundational math facts anymore, times tables, addition/subtraction in their head, etc. And outside of a small percentage of highly motivated students, I wouldn't want to hire any of the next generation to run a cash register. Always wash your new clothing before you wear it, even if it looks fresh and new. It's been thrown on the floor, moved around a dusty warehouse, tried on by a sweaty post-gym person, and probably sat in a stinky, humid shipping container for 2 months. Plus, you want to wash off all the starching/finishing products which make it look so new. The way the restaurant industry is literally run on drugs, typically cocaine and/or amphetamines. Anthony Bourdain wrote about this extensively, and I found it to be true when I was working on a line in my 20s, but even then, I sort of assumed it was more of a city thing. I did most of my restaurant work in Toronto. Just a couple years ago, the tiny town in Ontario that my parents live in had a big local scandal when the head chef of one of the restaurants in town was arrested for cocaine possession. It's everywhere. Engagement ring business here. Oh, so many. Most natural diamonds have been in like 2 to 3 rings before they end up in yours. Rings are made with more fragile designs than they used to be, because after you get tired of it breaking/needing repairs all the time, you will buy a new ring, thus giving us more. This is also why the trends nowadays lean towards dainty and minimalistic with a massive stone. BC, it's a ticking time bomb. This is also why a lot of jewelry stores won't stop you from getting stones that are too soft for daily wear. Looking at you, opal. The largest diamond distributor is Walmart. Diamonds that jewelry suppliers discard for being ugly end up on James Allen and Brilliant Earth. Platinum isn't necessarily a better metal than gold. It actually has just as many, but very different flaws. We sell it like it's better BC, it's much more expensive. It's against the law for a jewelry store to say, something is made of diamonds and gold if it's not, but these laws do not apply to Etsy sellers. The average woman's ring size is a 6, so we sell rings at a 6.57, so we can say, oh wow, you're smaller than average teehee. The people who beat up their rings the most are nurses, teachers, and office workers. Your loved one looks at peace in their casket, but what you don't know is they have plastic eye caps under their eyelids that are, sometimes not always, glued shut. There are either wires or sutures holding their mouth together, and usually some cotton and a bit of wax on the inside to form that subtle smile. There might be a styrofoam block under their back to make the positioning look more natural and comfortable. There might be styrofoam blocks under the padding to help hold their arms in position. Depending on the case, they're probably wrapped in plastic garments underneath the clothing provided. There is a lot of smoke and mirrors in preparation of a decedent. I worked at Alta Sciences for a while, a preclinical testing facility. They tested the safe dosages of meds before human trials on rats, mice, dogs, etc. They like to say they do the best for the animals as the necessary evil sort of situation, but the place is fucking abysmal. Painting over mold and literal shit, mold in ceilings, never fixing any machines, and just expecting people to make it work. Hiding bad procedures from visitors, not firing people who straight up kick the animals because they are leads. Taking away perks because higher-ups made stupid decisions and we paid for it. IACUC, FDA, USDA also are basically useless as well, since we got enough heads up to scramble a spit shine on the place. The stuff I reported, only one change happened, and that was cleaning the chemical barrel room. Also, trying to report these things is a pain in the ass on top of it. Any actual fixes are the most half-assed fixes made by someone who is not qualified in the slightest, so it's just gonna break again. There are people who genuinely want to do good by the animals and help push research to help people, but corporate greed combined with burnout makes for a bad time. Also, the pay sucks. Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watch other videos.